Contextually, I think it would be helpful for you to know that today's passage comes from a very special place. I want you to imagine Jesus out on the plain, preaching his heart out. This is from the Sermon on the Plain, and he, if you might remember, he's just told the people their blessings in the Beatitudes. Blessed are you, he says. And now in this section, Jesus is telling the people, or actually he's telling us, how we recognize a blessing. There are many things that we want, right? But just because we want something doesn't mean that it would be a blessing to us. And Jesus is trying to help us through that difficulty. Now, how do we tell if something is a blessing? How do we know when something is good fruit? Now, Jesus takes that seriously because he wants us to know the difference between what is good and what is bad. And what happens when we eat fruit that is bad? It messes up our insides. It might even kill us. Bad fruit to Jesus is spiritual poison, and it's everywhere. In fact, there are forces out there that are trying to feed you fruit that is rotten while they tell you that it's fresh. And here's an example, a really clear one for you. I was very honored this week to have been invited by Mr. C. Anthony's alma mater, Morehouse College, to be inducted into the Martin Luther King College of Preachers. It's a big deal, and it's such an enormous honor in the Black church. And wow, what an experience it was. As C. Anthony will tell you, if Morehouse knows how to do anything, it is pageantry. One of my favorite things that came out of that experience is I got to stay with a family that hosted me, and they're in Georgia. This is Atlanta. And maybe you didn't know, but there is a thing or two happening right now, big deals in Georgia. And my hosts like to keep the news going. I don't do that. I don't watch the news. I get all of my news by reading it because I don't want to hear it. It feels kind of like an assault, all that bad news. So I'm not accustomed to how television news works anymore, which means that I miss most of the political ads. They get me in my inbox, right? But I don't see the TV ads. But ooh, the political attack ads on television right now, why didn't y'all tell me? It's bad. Somebody is trying to feed the people of Georgia some very bad poisoned fruit. It is poison. It is toxic. Southern trees bearing strange fruit. Blood on the leaves, blood on the root. There is fruit in the marketplace, good folk, that will kill you. It has blood at the root, and it intends to do you harm, and Jesus doesn't want that for you. Neither do we. So how do we choose? How do we know? It's interesting. If you talk to people from just about anywhere other than here, the United States, this is what they'll tell you about Americans. We don't know how to pick fruit, and it's true. Everyone, everywhere else, basically, has a different methodology for picking fruit. But apparently, we pick our fruit by manhandling it. People come here and they're like, why are you doing this to your fruit? You're just ruining it, right? But this is what we do. It's not effective. And yes, I'm just as guilty as the rest of us of this. But we have a tendency to employ the wrong senses in trying to discern what good fruit is. And as I've already said, there are serious consequences when we choose wrongly. And all the while, as we do, we poison our bodies, we poison our spirits. Good people. The only way, spiritually, to know good fruit is to know good news. And there is good news, but we have to listen to Jesus. We have to care about the very things that Jesus cared about. And what was that? The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, who has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to the captive, to proclaim abolition to the prison, to let the spiritually blind to see, to set the oppressed free, to liberate the oppressed. That's what Jesus cared about. That's what they drove him off a cliff, or tried to, about. And when we head in that direction, when we start to care and make choices in our lives that are centered on what Jesus cared about, we bear good fruit. Poverty is bad fruit. Blessed are the poor. Captivity is bad fruit. Blessed are you who weep in prison. Oppression is bad fruit. Blessed are you who are persecuted and reviled and pushed down. But to those who are listening, Jesus says, love. Love God. Love your enemies. Love your neighbor. Love yourself. Love. Love is good fruit. Anything that doesn't come from love is death. When I baptize a little one, I ask this beautiful question, which seems simple, but it's actually not. By what name will this child be known? And that's a question, I think, for the rest of us, too. By what will I be known? What are my fruits? What is my legacy? What will it be? You bear good fruit when you always put love first. Put love first. It's that simple, and yet I think it's something that at least people at my age tend not to think about. We don't always think about legacy. What are my fruits? By what will I be known? What will the epitaph on my grave be? My proposal for you is that you let that be some version of, she loved, he loved, they loved, you loved. When the poor cried out, Jesus loved. When they tried to feed him a shiny red apple of poison, even then, he loved. To love is to bless, which is the fiercest act of resistance there is to love. And so do that. Resist all the poison, the toxicity by loving. And as you do, I guarantee you will feel the warmth of God's smile upon you. You bear beautiful fruit. Amen.